Hey, what's up everyone? Josh here from KeepItTechie, and today we're building a production-worthy reverse proxy with Nginx on Ubuntu 24.04. What we'll do is set up multiple sites, lock it down with Let's Encrypt TLS, add forwarded headers, so apps client IP addresses, and harden Nginx with smart timeout and rate limits. Now, one thing I'll be doing is using one of the virtual machines that I did in one of my last videos, which was the Jellyfin server running in Docker. And I'll be showing you guys how to run Jellyfin through our reverse proxy. That way you can get around the blocks that a lot of ISPs do when it comes to hosting things on port 80 and 443. Now, before we jump in, hit that like button if videos like this help you run your home lab with confidence, because it really helps the channel. All right, let's get into it. All right, so let me break it all down what I'll be doing in this video. First off, I'll be setting up the reverse proxy VM, and this will be Ubuntu server 24.04. I will set up a subdomain on a public DNS Cloudflare, and I'll point that domain down to my home IP address using a Cloudflare tunnel. And we'll get into more of that later on in the video. Now, the backend app, I'll be using the Jellyfin server that I set up using Docker, and that'll be on a separate server. It'll have a private IP address. I'll show you guys all of that once we get to that point as well. And the goal is to have the internet connections coming through our Cloudflare tunnel directly to our Nginx server using 443, and then to our internal services of Jellyfin. Now let's go down and hop over to our virtual machine so we can get started, because I don't want to make this video too long. So let's get to it. All right, let's get started with the first step. And the first step is to install Nginx and Certbot. And so I'll walk you guys through that real quick. It's super simple. The first thing you want to do whenever you're installing any new piece of software, you want to update your system. So at least check for updates. So you can go sudo apt updates and press enter. And this will refresh the repositories, the Ubuntu repositories, just to see if there are any updates to any packages that you have installed on your system. Now, as you can see, we don't have any packages. That went through pretty quick. So we can go down and install Nginx. And the command to do that is simply sudo apt install Nginx. And it's spelled Nginx. So just go down and press enter, and you can also put the Y in there as well. That's why I always forget to do that, but yeah, that'll go down and install the package for you. So you don't have to answer that little question that pops up saying, are you sure you want this to take up this amount of space on your hard drive and install this package? Yes, we do. So that's what that's for. All right, so that install was pretty quick, and what you want to do is just verify that the services are running for Nginx. And all you have to do is type sudo systemctl, and then you can go status, and we can go Nginx and press enter, and it'll let us know if the service is actually running. So right now our web server is running on our server, and so let's quit. And then I want to also run IPA so we can find out what the IP address is of this system, and then we can head over to our browser right fast. And what you want to do is go to the IP address that showed up in the terminal, and mine is 10.10.0.111, and press enter, and that will let you know that Nginx is working on the system, or Nginx, I'm sorry. Now, for some reason, if you're not seeing this, it may be due to your firewall. And so let me go down and cover that real quick so you guys at least know how to set it up if you need to. There is an application on Ubuntu servers. It's called UFW. And this is uncomplicated firewall. It's essentially a front end for IP tables, which is installed on pretty much all Linux distros. UFW is basically a front end for it, and it makes the command super easy to make changes to your firewall from the terminal. So go down and turn on our firewall, but first we want to open up a couple ports. So let's type UFW and then allow. And what we want to do is allow Nginx full. And what that means is it will open up both ports, port 80 and port 443. And we need both of those open for our web server. Press enter, that will add those rules. And also what we want to do is open up the ports for open SSH, which it should already be there because we are connected via SSH. So let's go down and type that in right fast. So open SSH, that's what the package name is called. So Let's go and press enter. That'll add port 22, which is the default port for SSH, which is secure shell. And the reason you want to make sure you open that up, because if you're connecting to your server via SSH and you turn on your firewall, you run this command that I'm going to run next, you can potentially get locked out of your server. So let's say it's a cloud server. The only way you can connect to it is they have one of those terminal applications you can open up and then fix the firewall that way. But if you're connected remotely like I am from, let's say, my laptop or something, I'm connected to a server in the cloud. If you turn on the firewall without opening up the port for Open SSH, then it will block you, essentially, because now you can't access that port because the firewall is actively blocking that port. So now we can go down and turn on our firewall. So let's go sudo ufw enable, and this will enable our firewall. And you may see this warning right here. It says command may disrupt existing SSH connection. So if you're connected via SSH, it may mess up your connection and you may have to reconnect, but it should be fine. As long as you have that open SSH open, it should be fine. You shouldn't run into any issues. It should stay connected like mine just did. As you can see, it says firewall is active and enabled on system startups. And then another thing you can do, just to quickly show you guys, this UFW status. You can run a status and this will show you the ports that are open. And as you can see, Nginx full, open SSH, and this is version 6 and those are version 4. From IP addresses that are version 4, it'll connect to, it opens up that port for that, and then as well as version 6 IP addresses. What's up, y'all? If you've been watching my channel for a minute, you already know I stay talking about Linux. And if you're looking for a solid, reliable enterprise Linux distro, let me put you on to Rocky Linux. This is the go-to replacement for CentOS, and it's built for the community, by the community. It's got everything you need for a stable and secure Linux experience, whether you're running servers, home labs, or enterprise workloads. And the best part, it's backed by CIQ, making sure it stays rock solid for the long haul. So if you're tired of these companies pulling the plug on your favorite distros, Rocky Linux is where you need to be. And I've covered Rocky Linux before, and trust me, it's worth checking out. So head over to rockylinux.org to learn more and get started. Keep it techie. Peace. Now that Nginx is up, let's install Certbot and the Nginx plugin for EasyTLS. I'll show you guys those two packages right there. So all you have to do is type sudo apt install Certbot is what we want to use. That will gather our certs. It's an automatic application that'll keep up with our certs on our server for whatever domain you set up using Certbot. And it will get those certs from Let's Encrypt. And I'll show you guys that once we get to that point where we set up our certs. Also, the other application we need to install is Python 3-Certbot. And this is a Nginx plugin that will assist with the Certbot working with Nginx to request new certificates and keep up with it and everything. So let's go and press enter and let that go through and install. Yeah, and I'm not sure why it didn't find that package, but as you can see, it's right here. I just hit tab and that brought up the package name. Maybe I spelled it incorrectly, which I don't think I did. Maybe I did, I don't know, but let's go down and run that so we can get it installed. Okay, all right, so just make sure you type in the package correctly, and like I always do with most of these videos, I go down and create a guide for you guys to follow, so you can just copy and paste the commands and you'll be good to go. Now let's do a quick check on our Nginx server. We could just type this command, so nginx-t, and this will test our configurations and all that good stuff. As you can see, Nginx, the configuration file, syntax is okay, all that good stuff. And right here, it's just a permissions denied error. So don't worry about it. You can run nginx-t and that'll get rid of that error that we're seeing right there. So Nginx, there we go. It checks both of them, those configuration files, which they're this. Now we can also check our Nginx again, our Nginx service again. So actually let's press up arrow so we can find it. That way we can make it simple. And I'll show you guys no pager right fast. I know a lot of people don't show that in videos. I'll show you guys no pager. Let's go down and show you. And there we go. So this checks our Nginx server. Now, one of the other things I want to show you guys with Nginx is how to get your base layout set as well as global hardening. I'll go down and show you guys how to make a few configuration changes to Nginx to make it a little bit more secure. And so let's go sudo make dir, let's go -p just in case, let's go etc, and then Nginx, and then snippets. Let's create that file. All right, fast and percent, and excuse me, I meant directory. And under snippets, let's go down and create a file called security headers.conf, and this will be our configuration for security headers. I'm gonna back this make dir off, and we're gonna use nano to create this file. Boom. And I already have the settings written out, and this is just good hygiene for your Nginx server when it comes to security, the headers, and all that good stuff. Now, Jellyfin will ignore this, but like I said, it's good hygiene for most apps that you install in Nginx, like as far as web apps. And so let's go down and save that. So I'm gonna hit Control S and then X, that'll close out that file. And another file I want to create is our proxy.conf. So I'll show you guys that right fast. And like I said, I'll create a guide for you guys to follow, and you guys can just copy and paste all this stuff. So this will be our proxy configuration. So let's go down and press enter, and I already have all this information written out as well. So I'll just paste it in here so you guys can get an idea of what's actually going on. This will keep long streams stable, but mitigate slow layers if it arises. And this is mainly for a media server. This is things you want to do for a media server. Now, I've done all of this for my Plex servers in the past, as well as my current Jellyfin server as well. So I'm not showing you nothing I haven't done already for my system. So let's go down and save that right fast. And we need to create one more, and this is for our rate limits. We can go down and make changes there for that as well. So let's press up arrow, and then I just copied the name of the file so you guys can see it, but it's ratelimit.conf. Press enter, and let's go down and put a limit in here that is beneficial for our system. And I put some notes in here as well when I wrote it out, so you guys can see or understand what this is actually doing. 10 requests per second burst to 20 by IP, and tune for your needs if you need to. So I'll have all this information, like I said, in a wiki post or something like that. This will basically limit the rates. So like it's gentle by default, and this will help prevent choking when it comes to media, when you're streaming and all that stuff. And I know I'm going a little further, but I also wanted to expand a little bit on changes you should make to your proxy server for media streaming if you're setting up a Jellyfin server. And so these are all benefits for that. And let's go down and save this right fast. And what I want to do is make a few minor tweaks to the Nginx actual configuration. And this is under the Nginx directory. So I'm gonna back this off, the snippets, and then I'm gonna tab it out so you guys can see what's under there. But you'll see an nginx.conf file underneath here. And what you want to do is go to that and press enter. And we're gonna make a few changes here. And actually, no, best practice. What you want to do is copy or make a backup of your Nginx configuration. That's something I got out of doing or showing you guys because I assume you guys knew to do that, but you want to make sure you make a backup of your configuration file. So in case you make a mistake within your configuration file, you can always go back to the original file. And what I typically do is store it in the same location, and let's put nginx.conf. And then what I typically do is just put dot backup, and this will be a copy of the actual configuration file, and it'll store it in that same location. And one thing we could do is use some of our built-in variables. I'll go through that and show you guys some of that. I think you have to put it in quotes from what I remember, and then dates, and I believe it's plus %, and then capital F. And that should save it with the current date. So let's ls that directory so you guys can see it right fast. We could just tab right there and you guys should be able to see it. Yeah, there we go. So that's the current date. It's a backup of it. That is something that I recommend you guys do before making any changes to your Nginx configuration file. So let's go up in here and make a few changes right fast. Now under our HTTP block, which is right here, for one, what we want to do is include our configuration files. So some of our configuration files that we created. So we can go down here to the bottom. You see where it says include the meme. So we can go right here as well. And let's space over there right fast. And what I'm gonna do is add another space, but go back and we're going to include our etc, and sorry I hit tab, but etc Nginx, and then our snippet of the rate limits. So let's go down and put that in there, .conf. And what you want to do at the end of it is put a semicolon. That way it goes to the next line. Now I'm gonna just copy the I'm gonna just copy the other options that I want to put in here as well for you guys, so you guys can check it out for yourself. I'm gonna drop it in here right fast, and I know I gotta fix this one right here. So this is a map, and we're gonna move it right there. Actually, let's put it up a line and then move it over there. There we go. Server name hash bucket size 64. So that's beneficial to have, as well as our map for the HTTP. It's a variable upgrade and connection upgrade. So the default is closed, and WebSocket upgrade. So if you guys are web gurus, you know what I'm talking about. So let's go down and save this right fast and exit out of our configuration file. And what you want to do is run another test. So all you got to do is type sudo nginx and then -t, press enter. That'll test our configuration files just to make sure we didn't make any syntax errors or anything like that. And then what you want to do is reload nginx. So you can type sudo and then systemctl and then reload nginx and press enter, and I'll reload. And as long as you don't see any errors right here, that means it took all of our changes. All right, so let's go down and create our Jellyfin reverse proxy. And I already know the IP address to our server. It is 112. That is my Jellyfin server. Let me actually make sure right fast. And yes, it's still 112, because right now I'm using dynamic IPs. I don't have a static IP address set on this server. So if I reboot it, it may end up with a different IP, but on both of these servers. But you want to set up static IPs when it comes to things like this, like a reverse proxy or a web server like Nginx. You want to have a static IP address so it can always find that service or that server on your network. But we shouldn't run into any issues in this demonstration. Now, our upstream lives at 10.112, and then also the port for Jellyfin is 8096. So you have to put all of that in your proxy server, and our upstream is going to be our domain name, so jelly.keepitechie.com. And so what you want to do is create a virtual host right fast under Nginx first. So let's go in and create that. And I already have a built out virtual host file. This video is not about setting up virtual hosts. I'll just put the information in there. I have videos on setting up virtual hosts using Nginx as well as Apache. So let's just go down and paste in our configuration so we can get it working. But under etc, we can go under Nginx, and then there is a folder called sites available. And what you want to do is create your configuration file there. So let's go jelly, that's what I'm gonna name it, and press enter. And we need to type in our passwords. I totally forgot the nano command, nano, and then etc. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's go down and just copy in our configuration. I already have, like I said, I already have it all written out for us just to make it super simple. I'll give you guys a copy of it on my wiki so you guys can check it out. And actually, when I set this video up, it had a different IP address at the time. When I went through and did my setup for this video, I always go through and do this so I could see whatever errors I'm gonna run into, so I could fix them in case I run into them. And then also, let's see what else we got. And cool, so we got 80 and 443 stored in there. So jelly.keepitechie and jelly.keepitechie. This is the 443, which is our SSL, and then our location, which is the IP address of the server. That's one thing you want to change. And then also we have a log area. It'll store our logs in jelly.access.log as well as our errors under that file, and that's all stored under void log and then Nginx. So let's go down and save this right fast. Boom. Yes, we want to write that out. And one thing I forgot to point out to you guys in here, I'm gonna go back into it right fast, but you want to know the location of your actual keys or certificates. You got your certificate and your key, your private key. You want to know those locations, and I'll show you guys how to set up that directory. And then one thing we also have to do is go down and set up our Let's Encrypt directory, and this is basically our ACME web root. And what you want to do is go to sudo and create a directory under our var www. So make dir, and then let's go -p just in case, which I'm sure these other directories are there. So var www, and then let's encrypt, and you want to make sure you spell it. So let's encrypt. Yeah, there we go. So let's go down and press that, and then let's go down and enable our site right fast. So let's go sudo ln-s, and what we're doing is creating a link from our configuration file that's stored under sites available to our enabled directory, and I'll show you guys that once we get to it. So nginx, And then what we want to go to is sites available, and then we want to specify that Jelly config, and we want to link that to our etc Nginx, and then our sites enabled, and press enter, and that will link that jelly .conf file for us, and we can run the Nginx command again, or Nginx. I keep saying Nginx, but it's Nginx. So -t, that'll test our configurations. This tests our vhost configurations as well as any other configuration files that are in our Nginx directory. And let's go down and just run everything together. So systemctl, and then reloads Nginx, and press enter, and that'll check. And it looks like, let's see, did we have any errors? No. Yeah, we do have an error right now, and that's only because we haven't generated our keys yet, our encryption keys. All right, we got Nginx configured, the proxy in place, and the server prepped for SSL. In the next video, I'll show you how to hook things up with a Cloudflare tunnel and get full HTTPS with auto-renewing certificates. Yo, what's up, y'all? Listen, if you've been sitting there thinking about making a move, let me tell you, tech is where it's at. I don't care where you coming from, whether you've got a degree, a GED, or just pure hustle. There's room for you in this game. You see, tech is more than just keyboards and code. It's solving problems, creating opportunities, and building the future. You already have what it takes, because tech doesn't care where you start. It cares where you're willing to go. You can teach yourself Linux, learn Python, break into cybersecurity, or even launch your own app. And the resources are out here for free. And yes, you heard me, free. Now, yeah, it's gonna take effort. You'll have to grind, but think about this. The time is gonna pass anyway. So why not invest it in a skill that'll change your life? I mean, tech doesn't just pay the bills, it opens doors to freedom, stability, and generational wealth. So stop doubting yourself, start small, stay consistent, and keep building. Because this isn't just a career, it's a movement. And guess what? You belong here. So let's get it, because the future is yours to build. Keep it techie.